First of all, I'd like to congratulate the other nominees here. Tom, obviously, I was 8 years old when you were playing up here, so I didn't have the privilege to see you play. So congratulations to you. Jody, where's Jody? Hiding back there in the back. For those of you that didn't get to see her play, boy, you missed one heck of an athlete. Jody was probably the best overall female athlete I've seen in my 20 years here. So congratulations to you too, Jody. I'd also like to thank Ryan's family for coming up here today and supporting him. I'd like to recognize Jed Hamill, class of 2003. Is that correct, Jed? 2003 is here as well. His parents, Anita and Michael. His wife, Liz. Son, Luke. And little baby girl on the way. Not here, but we'll see the video, I'm sure, someday. And I'd also like to, not now, but get an answer maybe when the banquet's over from Anita and Michael, what exactly they did to create a guy like Ryan. You couldn't ask for a guy that was a better leader, a better student, a better role model, not even on the athlete side. And as a person who's raising two boys myself, I want a few tips from them when we're done here today, what they did to create such a good person, good kid. So hopefully you guys can help me with that a little bit later. I'd also like to thank Todd Kaiser, who's here today and has been here with me for a lot of years. Todd is the one who actually found Ryan and gave us the opportunity to have Ryan here as a player for us. Back in 2000, I believe it was, summer lacrosse camp down in Buffalo, which continues to be one of our hotbeds where we usually pull some pretty good players. And Todd was down there working a camp and saw Ryan playing, and Ryan didn't play on the greatest high school team. You know, he saw a lot of rubber, as we call it in lacrosse. And a lot of times that's where the good goalies come from. They aren't always on the best team. They're on the teams that aren't maybe as strong because they see a lot of shots. And Todd found him down there when he came back from that camp, and he told me about this guy. We got him to come up on his visit, and I remember having a really nice lunch with him and his mom and talking and showing him around. And you know, it went on throughout the fall, and eventually, Ryan made his decision to come here, and obviously it worked out pretty well for us. So I want to thank Todd for getting that started, and I know Todd and Ryan are still pretty close today. Also, I'd like to mention that Ryan is probably our strongest supporter as an alumni. Ryan is the guy who calls me every year at the beginning of the season to touch base, see how the team's looking, get the schedule, always comes to our games. This year, him and his boy Luke drove up from Buffalo to our game at Geneseo, so we got to hang out. I don't think the weather was that good, but we survived. But he came up to that game. He also came to the Brockport game, and that's something that you don't. A lot of times when kids go on through and are gone for 5, 6, 7 years, they start to drift a little bit, and I'll talk to them now and again. I mean, we had 75 guys here last year at our alumni weekend for the fall for lacrosse, and Ryan also helped set that up and did a great job helping me organize that. But they kind of drift away a little bit and get into their own lives and busy with their own families. And to me, I really appreciate the fact that Ryan comes back and talks to me and calls me after a big win. And our relationship has developed really good. Over time, is more of, he's a really good friend and a great alumni. So I also, another thing, wanted to mention, I did see yesterday's paper for the local people that did get to read it, and it had Ryan's career stats in there and everything, so that was, a big part of my speech. So that, those of you that read the paper, okay, probably have an idea about what I'm going to say here, or Dan's got most of it in the brochure. So I'll just hit on a couple things that maybe weren't in there, okay, and then, I'll try to wrap up here in a minute. But Ryan came in 2002, his freshman year, and I don't think he started the first game or two, and then he took over, which I was being kind to the older guy because I knew Ryan was a lot better. But they're non-conference games, so we let him play a couple games, and everybody knew, all right, let's get Ryan in there. This is obvious. So Ryan ended up starting 8 games his freshman year, ended up with 101 saves, and was voted our team rookie of the year that year in 2002. 2003, his sophomore season, he started all 12 games, 221 saves, 66 save percentage, which is outstanding for a goalie. Anything over 58% is outstanding for any of you that are familiar with lacrosse. He led us to the SUNY playoffs that year. We lost to Cortland on the road in the first round of the SUNY playoffs. His junior year, 2004, started all 13 games, made 3 more saves, 224 saves that year, 58 save percentage, so a few more got by him. Okay, but he ended up making the second team SUNY that year. He was our team MVP. He made the SUNY all-tourney team and led us again to the playoffs with a first-round visit at Cortland, which is where it ended up. His senior year, 2005, I believe that was the year he went abroad in the fall, and it worked out pretty well. I was a little nervous when he told me he was going to study abroad, but he didn't have to prove anything at this point. He was already been a captain twice, was a scholar athlete, grades were outstanding. But it worked out pretty well for him because he met his beautiful wife, while he was over there. And, he came back for that senior season. I can't remember if he was a little rusty or not, but it didn't matter. I knew how good he was, and it just take him a little bit of time to get back into shape. And he ended up starting all 16 games that year, 218 saves, 59 save percentage, all-tourney team again, first team SUNY, team MVP, Crusher Award winner, All-American, and again we lost to SUNY Cortland in the playoffs. So that part of it, we couldn't get over that hurdle, but we wouldn't have been there without Ryan either. So he ended up 764 saves. Is the career record holder in that. And I just have to share one quick story and then I'll be done here. My favorite story with Ryan, well, 2. The first one real quick, Ryan always let the first shot in. The first shot always went in. And to this day I still joke with him about it all the time. I mean, it would be a shot from way out outside the box, stick side high, didn't matter. First shot always went in. And I was always, and you that know me, Coach, I'm pretty calm on the sideline. And I wouldn't get too worked up or anything, but really I'd be like, Ryan. So I honestly, with his friends Harriman and these other guys used to face off, I was like, please win the first face off so we can try to be up 1-0 before they get a shot and we're down. All right. But anyway, my favorite story about Ryan is we were down at Cortland his senior year, playing Cortland in the playoffs. They're number 1 in the nation, undefeated. They got 7 Division I transfers on the team. We're up 4-1 in the first quarter, playing lights out. They call a timeout. Leland Rogers, who's a good friend of mine, he's now coaches at Syracuse, calls a timeout, and he's a big, intimidating man. And he's screaming at his guys in the timeout. So I get all our guys in, and we're up 4-1, number 1 team in the nation. I'm like, this is awesome. I said, guys, come on here tight. Just watch this. Just watch this. This is going to be fun. All right? I know we're probably not going to beat them. But I'm like, let's enjoy this. So we're all watching him go crazy on his guys and hitting them in the head. They come out, obviously, their D1 face-off guy wins like 4 or 5 in a row. They score some goals. They go up 5-4. Ryan's getting frustrated. He takes the ball out of the back of the net after a goal. I don't know if you've been to Cortland. They seat 8,000. Okay? Ryan takes the ball, throws it as far up in the bleachers as he possibly can. I mean, this thing is nuked to the top of the grandstand. The referee comes down, looks at Ryan, comes over, looks at me, and just grabs another ball and goes to the face-off. It should have been a 2-minute non-releasable penalty, but I don't think anybody had ever done that in a game of lacrosse, and they didn't know what to do. So that was probably one thing that I'll always remember that was really funny, and it just kind of was a true testament to Ryan's competitiveness, and he was just like, I got to do something right now. But anyway, without further ado, it's my honor, privilege, to introduce 2014 Hall of Fame inductee, Ryan Hanretty.
Thank you for the kind words, Rick. I appreciate it. It was just a bad ball. That was the only reason I threw the ball. It was a good 3 or 4 in a row, and that was about enough for me. But in any case, I'd like to congratulate the 2 other inductees here today, Tom and Jody. It's a great honor to be going in with the 2 of you. From what I've read and what I've seen, you're great athletes, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this class. Thank you to the athletic department, Mr. Zlaka, and the rest of the crew. When I got the phone call in January, had a lot of stuff going on at work at the time, and we're early. I got the 315 number, and you know that's coming from Potsdam. I thought it was Rick for some reason, wasn't really paying attention. Obviously answered the phone. It was Jay-Z, as I like to refer to him as.
The real Jay-Z.
The real Jay-Z, yeah, not the one married to Beyonce. But, we started with some niceties, and I said, my usual opening line is, what's new and exciting? And he said, what I'm about to tell you. I said, and he said it with a weird inflection in his voice, and it sounded like something bad was going to happen. So I'm thinking, did something happen to Rick? Is something going on up there? What's going on? And he goes, I'd just like to tell you that you've been inducted, or you will be inducted into the 2014 Hall of Fame, and it's my pleasure to tell you that. So it was a very humbling experience. I worked very hard for it, and it's a pleasure to be here. What you've done with the facilities here are phenomenal. I was over at Maxie today, and that's what gets people here. When I came up here with my mom in February of 2002, it was snowing more than you could ever see on that ride up. We left at probably 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. I was just finishing up a hockey game, and it was snowing like no other all the way up here. And we did not know when Route 11 was going to end. Finally it did, and we pulled up at the Smallings South, down on Route 56. And, it's probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. We pull up to the place, walk to the front desk, or where you think the front desk would be. And there's a note on the door. And it says, room reserved for Hanretty. You're in room 204. It's on the end. The key is on the desk. And you sit here and we look at each other and we go, the key is on the desk in the room. That means the door's unlocked. And from what I've seen of this town so far, there's probably a mass murderer sitting in the closet. So, in any case, we walked in, checked out the surroundings. Everything was okay. You knew you were in a place where there were some friendly people, and you didn't have to worry about anybody breaking into a hotel room, apparently. But thanks again, Jim, for giving me that call. It was a pleasure. Rick, thanks for the kind words. A couple other thank yous, and then we can move on. But Todd, I want to thank you. 14 years ago, I met Todd at a summer lacrosse camp, and it changed a lot of thoughts I had on where I was going to go to school. Early on, my sister was at Cortland. That was going to be the place for me. But SUNY Potsdam showed more interest, and after the trip up here, we got along well, obviously, with Rick and Todd. He offered me some playing time that I would have to earn, but it was in the mix, so I felt as though I could take care of that part of it. But I really appreciate the opportunity. Todd was always there, shooting on me early at practice, giving me motivation. I mean, the way this guy's eyes lit up when he was fired up was phenomenal. He would get you going. Not to mention we had a ton of fun along the way with the cast of characters we had around us. The team we had at the time, again, the cast of characters, I mean, you can go down the list, and each one of these guys had a weird story or a weird background, or they were into something weird. It was just a weird group of guys, but we got along well. We had a great time, and it was just a great group to be around. Rick was always there at the head of the table, making sure everybody stayed humble. If you thought you were doing a good job, Rick would make sure to rip a corner on you to put you in your place and make sure you knew that Rick was a pretty good player in his day at Salisbury. He never let you get too high on your horse. But between those two guys, the motivation and the way they made me feel wanted up here was phenomenal, and I appreciate that. I want to thank a couple of my teammates and families that were up here at the time. I don't know why this is so brutal. The Hamill family was very, very good to me. Being from Buffalo, obviously, it's a pretty good hike up here. It was difficult for my parents to get to all the games, but every time you got done, Mrs. Hamill was there to give me a hug, whether things were good, things were bad. She sent my parents every newspaper clipping. They're in a pretty cool book. I thought the book was full, but apparently we got another article yesterday, so looking forward to putting that one in there. But the Hamills really treated me very well. I appreciate that. Jed, I appreciate everything they did for me over the years, so thank you. The Seacott family as well. They were from Messina. We used to go up there and play on their farm a couple times a year. But another great family. It was nice to be able to leave Pacey's. Not that there's anything wrong with Pacey's, but to go get a home cooked meal in Messina every once in a while was phenomenal. So thanks to the Seacotts as well. Early on here in this building, my first day here, I met my roommate, Mark Muskoff. He and I hit it off from the get-go. I called him Mark Muskoff for 2 days, and then we had our first lacrosse practice, and he was later referred to as Fish, and that name kind of stuck, and I've never called him anything since. But thanks to him for being a supporter along the way. He was a guy that didn't play a ton, but he always had my back, and we really became good friends over the years. A couple more individuals. Mike Riggle. For those of you that were here during the time that I played, Mike was a goalie who came in with me. He was one of the fellas that was a little quirky, a little different, to say the least. But he was a lovable guy, phenomenal guy. He was a goalie as well, and it was pretty evident early on that I was going to play a lot, and he wasn't. And there was a lot of people that could have gotten jealous, tried to undermine me, whatever it may have been, and that kid always had my back, and I appreciate that greatly, and he made the experience here better. So thanks to him. I'm crying over Mike Riggle right now. It's good though. He's a kid that would give you the shirt off his back. I remember a time we were at Oswego. It was freezing cold, of course, as it normally was in the spring when we played our sport. For some reason, it would never quite warm up until we were done with school. But I forgot my sweats that day, and Riggs had his sweats, but he also had a pair of shorts. So Riggs was happy to hand me his sweatpants, let me wear those, and he froze his ass off on the sideline for 2 hours in a pair of shorts. But, he's that type of guy. As Rick mentioned, going into my senior year, Josh Seacott and I got the bright idea that we should go to Australia and study abroad. We were walking by the library one day, and Josh looks over. He says, "Hey, Niner, what do you think about going to Australia?" I said, "I don't know. I never really thought about it." I go, "How much does that cost?" He said, "It's about the same as here. From what I hear, it's just the same. You think your parents will go for it?" I said, "Yeah, if it's the same, I don't see why not." It wasn't the same. But we still went. We had a pretty good time there. We did not play a lot of lacrosse, but played a lot of beach volleyball, met a lot of interesting people, and it was a great part of my life. The other person I met there was my wife, Liz. 10 years ago to the day, I met her there. We've obviously grown to be very close. She came back with me to a certain extent. She was from the Midwest. I had to come back and play my senior season of lacrosse, so she went back to Minnesota. She would fly in pretty much every 3 weeks. I'd drive to frickin' Syracuse to pick her up, drive back up here. She'd stay for 2-3 days, then I'd drive back down, drive back up. It was a complete mess. During the winter all the time, I was squirting around practice. I was trying to fit it in with classes, but it worked out. She was a great supporter during the time I was playing. Thank you for that, honey. And she's a great mother, a great wife, and I look forward to the next many years. My sister was also a great supporter. She was very disappointed when I didn't go to Cortland. She did want me to go there, but one thing always stuck with me when she would come up here and visit, and it was the fact that she always said everybody was so friendly. You'd be out at the bars, and you bump into somebody in normal places, you give the guy a crooked look. Here, you say sorry, and the other guy says sorry, and you move on your way. It's something I didn't really notice when I was here, but when she would come up and visit, that's the one thing she always said is the way that people treated each other here was different than anywhere else. I think that's a testament to the community, a testament to the college, and again, just another positive thing about Potsdam. My sister always took a back seat to my sports. I appreciate that. My parents ran me up and down through town, up to Canada, back from Canada. I played a lot of travel hockey growing up. She was always along for the ride, never happy on the ride. She made us aware of that. But, she was a great supporter. She loved, when we'd go down to Cortland and play. She loved telling her friends that we were coming and that I was going to stop a lot of balls. I definitely saw a lot of rubber those games. They were a pretty good team back then, still are. But she was always very supportive, and I really want to thank her for that. Two more, and then we'll get on our way. But they're two probably the most important. My mother and father. My father always worked a lot. My mom always took me to practice, home from practice. 2 games, away from games. She used to drive up here during the week to come catch games. It was a lot for her, and I really appreciate everything you did, Mom. Now, when she went to games, it wasn't necessarily the fact that she was watching the games. My mother's very, very chilly all the time, and when you're playing lacrosse in the spring and it's normally cold, I remember one game we were at Keuka, and I went and found her after the game, got in the car, hopped in, the heat's just blasting. I said, Mom, what'd you think? She goes, you played great, Ryan. It was a great game. You guys did really great. I said, Mom, we lost by like 4 goals. Did you watch the game? Well, I couldn't really see. I was I was parked up on this hill, and I could kind of see a little bit, but, I couldn't really see the whole thing. I said, all right, Mom, well, next time, at least know the score of the game and get in the car. But she reminisced today when we were over at Maxey Hall. She pointed to the window. She said, I watched a lot of games from that window. That was my spot. But thanks, Mom, for everything. Dad, my father always liked to give his opinion on the way I played sports. We called it Mike's Tips. Whether it was hockey, something he knew about, or lacrosse he knew nothing about, he liked to give me his opinion on what I was doing right or what I was doing wrong. It helped, I think. Put me in a pretty good spot when it came to playing lacrosse. But there's only a couple points in time where you can get your father to cry. I know of 2, and I'm going to put 3 on the board today. We're at the All-American dinner in 2005. It was at Cortland. Luke, a couple more minutes, man. We sat down for dinner, and it was funny. I had met the guys over a couple days. There was a North-South All-Star game going on. So we, of course, we had to grab one last drink at the bar. We were late coming up to dinner, and tables are set up like this, and there's 3 empty seats at one table. It was me, my mother, and my father. And we sat down, and I kind of got a little chuckle in my head because I know who we're sitting down with. They don't have a clue. So we sit down at the table, and I say, hey, Jason, hey, Seth, how you guys doing? Yeah, good to see you. Oh, Seth, this is my father, so on and so forth. And we're going around the table, and everybody's kind of introducing themselves. Where are you from? What do you do? Whatever you're doing. Congrats on your accomplishment, things like that. And, of course, Seth starts. He says, hi, I'm Seth Goldberg. I went to Yale University. I was a 2-time All-American, whatever it might have been. My parents look at me. Yale, huh? No, not bad. Go around the table. Jason Doniger says, hey, I'm Jason Doniger. I went to Princeton. Was probably a 4-time All-American, I'm not sure. But my father looks at me and goes, Princeton, huh? Not bad. So, yeah, I'm Ryan Hanretty. I'm from SUNY Potsdam. It's Division III school, and I'm an All-American. It was a privilege to be a part of that company. My father cried that night. He was very proud. After Jay-Z called, it was my first call to him. He's usually a guy you can't get off the phone with. All right, Dad, see ya. All right, see ya, Rye. See ya. Okay, see ya, Dad. Bye, Rye. See ya, Dad. Bye, Rye. Okay, you good? Yeah, all right, see ya. Goes on and on and on. This phone call, right after I told him, he hung up quick. And I knew it was because he was getting emotional. Later that day, my mom called. She said, Rye, Dad came home last night. He told me the news. He's extremely proud of you. You should have seen how emotional he was at the time. And to me, that means I made him proud. I made my family proud. It's something I continue to try to do, not only obviously in sports, but in my professional life. And I look forward to trying to continue to make everybody around me proud. It's a pleasure to do so when it works out. And hopefully there's many proud moments coming forward. So thanks again. Sorry for droning on and being, I guess, upset or happy or whatever this is, but I appreciate it. Thanks.